All right, what's up, everybody? It's Adam Aldaushi. Going to be making this video today on kind of like the mecca of how to study for a technical interview and everything I did and all the resources I used and all the methods I used and what I kind of saw to work best in my own opinion. This is an extremely important thing to really have down because a lot of people can end up wasting their time in this stage of preparing for an investment banking interview. In my opinion, a lot of people make the mistake of thinking the technical interview is more important than the behavioral interview. And I can see the argument for that, but at the end of the day, if you have a bad behavioral interview, you're not going to get the job. That's just what I think is the reality of the situation. So I think finding a good balance of where you're practicing your behaviorals and your technicals on kind of like a balanced schedule is very important. Don't stress out one over the other and be like, oh, I'll just worry about my behaviorals like a week before the interview. I highly recommend you don't do that. I recommend you just find a balance. Maybe do 30 minutes of technicals a day and then an hour of behaviorals on the same day. So that's an hour and a half of studying. It's not that bad. But yeah, let's get into it. I'm going to kind of go over all the resources I use and kind of where to start. And here's something I would say to really have down before you even get into any of the technicals, any of the evaluation methods is one, understand your accounting. And this is extremely important. What do I mean by understand your accounting? Understand the three financial statements and how they link together. If you don't understand how the income statement, cash flow statement, and balance sheet all link together and how they actually work and how to read a balance sheet or how to read an income statement, you cannot move on with your technical preparation. You have to really have a deep understanding of how these statements work and what they are. It's not rocket science at all. I guarantee you with like an hour or two of studying and like really just looking at a couple earnings that have been released recently and just kind of understanding each line item on a balance sheet or on an income statement is crucial to making your life a lot easier when it comes to studying for the technical portion of the interview. So again, I think the first step, the first place to get started with your technical prep is understanding your accounting fundamentals and understanding how the three financial statements link and how they actually work together. Now, let's say you have that done. You understand your accounting. You know how the income. You can walk me through how to build an income statement, cash flow statement, and a balance sheet, and how net income flows through all three of the statements, and how cash flows through all the three of the statements. Then you're ready to get actually started with your technical prep. And this is going to list kind of like the resources I used for my technical prep. I would start off with like a CFI or Wall Street prep course. For CFI, it's going to be called FMVA. So the program CFI has is called FMVA. So if you look up CFI FMVA on like Google or something, you'll find the course I'm talking about. And look, when I was preparing for my technical interview, I made sure I understood the concepts before getting into the questions and actually trying to memorize 400 questions. Because at the end of the day, no one can just memorize 400 questions without understanding the concepts that the questions are built on. So a CFI or a Wall Street prep course will really help you get to that point of actually understanding the different concepts. And it's a self-paced course. It's very interactive. You can, they let you build like models with them and stuff. They give you a lot of templates. I really recommend starting here. And if you don't have the budget to start there, that's okay. I think my kind of best piece of advice to you is using some sort of PowerPoint course like this that I'll be sharing with you guys. This kind of is an in-depth mini course on all the different topics you're going to be going through in terms of a technical interview. And I'll put this on the Investment Making Instagram ASAP. But if you don't have the budget to do the CFI FMVA course or a Wall Street Prep course, I highly recommend going through this and actually understanding everything they're talking about in this PowerPoint. Because again, your accounting is going to be the foundation you're building all of these technical concepts on. So having a really good understanding of your accounting concepts is going to be so crucial. So those are your two options to get started. Is one, you're a CFI FMVA course or the Wall Street Prep equivalent to this, or if you don't have $200 to spend like that, use a course like this online that is free, and it's not as interactive as watching videos and stuff, but it'll get the job done, I think. And also watching YouTube videos is a good start by you can look at this course and then whatever that doesn't make sense to you. For example, you don't really understand what a discount rate is. You can go on YouTube and look up what is a discount rate and watch any video that pops up and then kind of put the pieces together, if that makes sense. But if you want the easy way out, and I think the best way in terms of getting you as prepped as possible, I recommend taking a course like this. All right. So this will get the concepts down for you, I believe, and it'll really kind of hone in on making sure you understand what each question is truly asking, and you're not just memorizing, what Wall Street Prep is telling you to memorize in terms of the question answer. I'll move down here to prepping for the questions now. Say you've gone through a course, you understand the concepts, you're telling yourself, okay, I'm ready to start hitting these questions and really trying to understand what I'm going to be facing during an investment banking technical interview. So this is where I start recommending resources like IB Vine. IB Vine essentially is a Quizlet version of investment banking prep. So Quizlet of IB Prep. It has flashcards of all the kinds of technical questions you'll be asked. And I'll show you what IB Vine is right now. So if I go here, I go to my browser, I just look up IB Vine. Here's the URL if you want to use it. And I go on IB Vine and use their filter option. So if I open this, I go down to by topic. Now, these are all of the technical topics you'll be facing. I don't worry about these two, and then this you'll see some LBO questions depending on the kind of bank you're applying to, but I never got asked an LBO question, but it's always good to be safe than sorry. So I would mainly focus all of your time on these 5 right here. So again, I'll go to accounting because now I went through a CFI course to get the concept down, but now I want to go through all the different questions. So this is what I would do. I would first start off with the basic questions. So I'd unclick advanced and I'd pull out a piece of paper and a pen. And I'd put number 1 on my paper. I'd write down the question, what are the 3 financial statements on my piece of paper? I would then, since I went through a CFI course, I should be able to have an answer for this question. I would write down my own answer. Once I have my answer completely written out and I'm confident or somewhat confident in my own answer, I would then press show answer. It gives me income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement. Boom. And in my case, I would explain which each one of these are just to be extra and have it written down. Okay? Then I would go next. Oh, it actually does that for you. That's what an income statement is. Write down your own answer first, what you think an income statement is, and the major line items in an income statement. Once you have your answer finished, show answer, and then if they have something that you forgot, say you forgot to put SG&A in your answer, I would rewrite my entire answer and include this SG&A part. And once I have it rewritten in perfect form, I would then practice saying it out loud, saying it in the mirror, just saying it anywhere. So because at the end of the day, this is going to be an interview. You have to talk. You're not going to be writing down answers. So you have to say the answer. That's also a crucial part of the technical interview is how you articulate your answers. You don't want to be talking too fast. You don't want to be talking too slow. You want to be able to make the interviewer easily understand what you're saying and that you've done your own research and you've put in the work in understanding the concepts behind these questions. Okay, and then now you guys get the point. Next, write my answer down, show answer. If they have something that I forgot, I add it to my answer, and then I say the answer out loud. I would go through all the basic questions, and once I'm done with the basic questions, I click advanced, unclick basic, and then I do the same thing again. And then once I'm done with accounting, I go to the next topic, enterprise and equity value. And it's a cycle. I keep doing that, I keep doing that, I keep doing that. I say once you finish an entire subject, like you've done all the basic and all the advanced questions, before moving to the next topic, I would recommend you sit down with a peer or a friend and have them ask you these questions. Like give them the computer and they're looking at the question and you're sitting right in front of them like you're in an interview, for example. Have your friend ask you these questions and then you give them an answer. And then they'll be looking at this answer and tell you if you're right or wrong. And then again, this is a really good way of practicing your interview skills and practicing how you articulate your answers to these questions. Because again, it's extremely important how you articulate yourself when explaining these concepts, because you want to make, like, if you articulate yourself incorrectly, or you're talking too fast, or you're kind of mumbling and stuff, the interviewer might think you didn't do the work, even though you did. So you don't want that happening. Okay, so this is one of the main methods I would use to prep for all of my technical interviews, and I think if you do this on a consistent basis, this alone should get you to, the 95th percentile of people interviewing. But if you want to take it a step further, let's go back to the whiteboard. I believe in multiple kinds of learning. So the first kind of learning is your visual learning by like reading something or watching someone do something else. The second kind is writing, like on a piece of paper, in my opinion. So that's what we just did on IB Vine. You're writing down all of your answers, right? Third is going to be audible. And I think a really good method of harnessing this like learning method is listening to a podcast. And that podcast is going to be Investment Banking Insights by Alex Mason. Now, a lot of you have heard me talk about this, but for the people who don't know what this is the best podcast for investment banking interview prep. And I'll show you what it looks like. It's this podcast with Alex Mason. He basically makes episodes that are like 5 minutes each, right? Or 10 minutes each. And it's every question you'll ever get asked, whether it being a behavioral question or a technical question. I'll go down to the technical versions. Sorry. So it's a 7-minute episode on this topic, and he's explaining his answer and explaining the topic, but also you're hearing someone articulate themselves in a perfect manner in terms of how to answer a technical question during the interview. So what I would do is that after I did my IB Vine and I understand each question and how to articulate myself, I would then listen to someone else answer the same question. And he's a master's student. He goes to Cornell. He's more experienced and he's probably going to have a better answer than you. So I would then take small pieces from his answers and incorporate them into my answers to form the perfect way of answering a specific question. And I think if you combine this with your understanding and your own answers that you did with IB Vine, that's what really sets you apart from the crowd who are interviewing at the same bank that you're interviewing at. And that's what I really used in terms of combining my methods of prep. So this side is going to be like how to prep for the technical questions and the 400 question guide that you see everywhere. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have on that. That's what I did. I also recommend just watching any videos explaining concepts, like watching YouTube videos on any hard concepts is always a good one. For those of you who get deeper into prep, you can look up a video on someone doing a paper LBO from scratch. And you're literally watching them write it out, and it's a very, very effective way of learning how to do something, in my opinion. You can just copy what they're doing, and the more you practice what they're doing, the better it sticks in your brain, in my opinion. So that's another really good method of learning, in my opinion. Let's move down to now the industry / kind of overall market questions you'll be getting. So one, what's very important is understand both the U.S. economy and global economy. And what I mean by understand, you don't have to understand like you don't have to be an economist, okay? That's not what we're looking for here. What I mean by understanding what's going on in the U.S. economy and the global economy is, one, understand what's going on with interest rates, or understand what's going on interest rates. And by the way, this comes after this. Like, I say you really get into this once you have a good understanding of the technical concepts, so that this comes easy when you're reading like an article or something. So understanding what's going on with interest rates is extremely important, because investment banks pay a lot of attention to the cost of capital, which is directly affected by interest rates. So understanding what the Fed is doing and what the global interest rate environment is extremely important when it comes to industry questions. You might even get asked, what is the current Fed target rate like at the moment during an interview, and like you'll have to give them an answer. So that's another really important thing to understand. 3 is, if there's any actually I'll make a new thing for that. So yeah, so I would just say overall just understand what's going on in the U.S. economy, how's inflation, how's GDP growth, what's going on with the interest rates, and I think that's sufficient. I think that's fine. You should be okay, and like the more you kind of get into it, the easier it is to read. And like I think if you read like for maybe like 20 minutes or 10 minutes a day on what's going on with the economy, you should be fine. Now let's move into kind of investment, like what's going on in the investment banking world. Banking environment. And what I mean by this is that investment banks publish or have press releases on their deals. So if there are any major deals that have happened, major billion-dollar deals, understand who covered them, how large a transaction was, and have your opinion on the deal. And that's going to be like regarding synergies or accretive. Okay. So what I mean by this is, like, in a technical interview, or just in an investment banking interview in general, it might not be technical. I don't think people consider this technical sometimes, but you'll be asked the question, tell me about a recent deal. And you'll have to kind of give them like a 90-second rundown of a recent deal that happened. It doesn't have to be for their specific bank, but obviously kudos to you if you do your own research on that specific bank you're interviewing at and give them a deal they recently covered. But in general, you just talk about a deal that happened in the investment banking world recently and kind of give your own opinion on it. And then this accretive/dilutive thing is kind of bonus points if you understand what it is, but it usually will say in the press release whether or not it's an accretive or dilutive deal. In most cases it's accretive, because why else would they do the deal? But understanding this, like the synergies and like why the deal like happened in the first place and whether or not it's an accretive or a dilutive deal, is more than enough to give a sufficient answer. And just having your own opinion, like, oh, I thought it was a great deal because this, and this, right? So I also recommend Alex Mason, the podcast I just showed you, he has a whole segment talking about this, and he's really good about explaining how to give your answer in a very organized and structured format. So I recommend watching one of his videos for this kind of stuff, and that's what I did for my own interview. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say on that. Understand the investment banking environment, any recent deals that transpired, and then I think you should be good on industry questions. I'll add another box here. So some people, this didn't happen to me. I don't know what this is. But you could apply to a specific coverage or product group. And if you're applying to a specific coverage group, like for example, like say you're applying for a TMT group, which stands for Technology, Media, and Telecommunications, right? You want to understand what's going on in the TMT space, right? Look up industry news. You can use ChatGPT for this if you want, but you can look up industry news within the TMT space. Have there been any recent huge deals? Is the space experiencing a high level of investment? Is the space projected to grow substantially in the future, like for example, like AI or something? Understand the specific industry that your coverage group is covering, right? That's a very important piece for those of you who are applying to any banks, like with a specific coverage group. If you're just applying for an overall generalist group, it's not that important, I would say, but at least have one or two industries in your back pocket that you know a little bit about. Like, for example, when I walked into my interview, I understood what was going on in the current tech environment and healthcare, for example. And I had two deals for each in the back of my brain, just in case I got asked the question. I don't even remember if I got asked that question or not, but I just did it just in case. And then for those of you applying for specific product groups, for example, an M&A group, understand what's going on in M&A. Are transactions on the rise? And this is going to link to interest rates and stuff. And how is the overall market for deals going right now? Is there a high volume of deals? Is there a low volume of deals? Are middle market companies seeing a lot of activity? Are large cap companies seeing a lot of activity? It's understanding what's going on in this specific product group's like function is extremely important. I don't have experience with this. I never applied to an M&A group, so I'm not the best about this. But again, the best thing about this investment banking prep is that there are so many resources online. So a quick Google search and you'll get a rundown of what's going on in M&A. All right. So that's that. Let's move that down to questions you might get over here as well. Okay. Sorry if you guys can't really see this, but it just gets our point across, I guess. All right. So I'm pretty sure, like, here is going to be the extra stuff. Extra stuff. In terms of technicals, you can always dive deeper. So you can do case studies or case competitions, sorry. Like NIBC, CFA, etc. Case studies case competitions are a very good method of kind of getting practice in terms of what you'd actually be doing as an analyst, I'd say. So if you really want to hone in on the technicals and really understand the concepts that you're studying, a case competition is a really good way about going about that. I didn't do a case competition, but I know a lot of people who did, and they're very, very sharp individuals. So if that sounds like something you'd want to do, that's another good option, I'd say. If you don't have like a team, there's case studies online. You can access websites like Forage. You can just look up investment banking 90-minute case study, etc. And these are basically, they're going to give you a case, like they're going to give you like a company and like explain the situation. Then you're going to have to build out like a DCF, 3 statements, all that kind of stuff. The one I did is I looked up investment banking 90-minute case study, and there's like this 90-minute like case study that's very in depth. It's way overboard, but it's a good way of hammering in the concepts, in my opinion. So that's another thing that you can do that's extra. Let me think if there's anything else. I really don't. I think all of you can read the book Investment Banking by Rosenbaum. This is a high level book of like all the functions of an investment banker and like what an investment bank really does. And it goes topic by topic. You don't have to completely understand what like everything in the book, because a lot of it's very high level and you won't see it in a technical interview. But again, this is the extra stuff. So that's another good thing you can do. You can do Leland Coaching, which is like a website where you can get an investment banking coach and have them coach you in terms of preparing for technicals. That's another good thing. And I think lastly, what ties all of this together, like you do all of this, you're good to go, you're confident. The best thing to tie all of this together is going to be a mock interview. mock interviews. And this is basically either going to be with your peers. It could be with the Investment Banking Club. We'll host a couple of those. Or, in my opinion, the best option, when you, for those of you who, well, I think all of you guys should be doing this, but network on LinkedIn and talk to analysts and associates within investment banks. And once you've done that and you've kind of developed a relationship with any investment banking analyst or associate, ask them for a mock interview. And they will basically kind of give you like a fake pretend like mock interview that helps you really just say your answers and practice your interview skills in front of someone who could actually be a potential person interviewing you in the firm. And that's what I did. I scheduled a mock interview with someone who actually ended up interviewing me for my super day, which made the experience a lot easier on my end. So once you have all this together and you're confident in your technical ability and your prep, I highly recommend tying this all together with a mock interview with either your peers, the Investment Banking Club, or, in my opinion, the best option, an investment banking analyst or associate you talk to on LinkedIn or something. And I think if you do all of this and you're consistent, you're doing this for like an hour a day, 2 hours a day, you should be really good to go. Like this is overboard. So again, be consistent. It's all a numbers game. Read about the industry. Listen to podcasts. One last thing. For podcasts for the industry, listen to Wall Street Journal's What's News. Read the Wall Street Journal. Listen to the Economist. Listen to the Economist podcast. And then listen and read to the Information's resources. The one I recommend the most on this entire list is going to be Wall Street Journal's What's News. It's basically a daily podcast that kind of gives you a rundown, like a 10-minute rundown of what happened in the financial markets and overall the world. And I think it's a really good podcast to keep you up to date with what's going on in the world of finance. So again, I'm a big podcast guy. I really think it's good to hear someone else say what you're trying to like understand so that you can then format your own answer based on what they're saying instead of just reading from a book. You know what I mean? Like I really like podcasts and I highly recommend them to everyone doing this kind of prep. So those are a couple podcasts that are great. Just in case you guys can't find it, I'll show you on Apple Podcasts what it looks like. Wall Street Journal, What's News. This is what it looks like. It's a daily rundown every day of what's going on in the market. Another good one is Morgan Stanley Thoughts on the Market. That's a really good podcast as well. It goes very in depth. Let me think if I can think of any others. I think that's really more than enough in my opinion. And then again, you can look up anything that you're thinking about. Like say I want to know about interest rates, interest rate recent cut, right? I look that up. I'm going to get episodes about people talking about the recent rate cut that just happened. So I really recommend podcasts because you can really kind of get a variety of things that they cover and really have a deep understanding of what's going on in terms of the financial markets, investment banking, and all that kind of stuff. This is everything I did for my technical interview. I can't think of anything else. And if I ever do, I'll post it onto the Instagram. The one thing that's missing here is the USC PowerPoint that I have, USC Bootcamp PowerPoint. And I'll post that into the Slack actually. So if you're listening to this and you're in the Investment Banking Club for SDSU, check our Slack and I'll post this entire USC Bootcamp onto it. Actually, scratch that. I'm going to put up a poll on Instagram asking for your guys' emails so I can send you it into an email list. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. If not, I still appreciate you guys listening to this stuff. this is what I did, and I really just hope this kind of helps, you know, one or two of you out there who are starting your prep. So again, you guys can do this. If I was able to do it, literally anyone in the world can do this. So yeah, good luck. And again, if you have any questions, my name is Adam Aldaushi. Feel free to reach out to me about this, and I'll be happy to answer what's on your mind. All right, thank you.